you got a lot of people always say, well, our elders, our old ones put it away for a reason. But what is that reason? Do you know? Well, I know. They put away four things with us. The first was a sacred pipe. And that all pipes had to follow that, not just our Nini Wakube. That's the only one you can call that, because the rest of them just Nini Wakube. But Nini Wakube is our one single pipe, the one that God Himself gave us. And it's still alive and used 2 times a year amongst the Ponca. And so they took that. The second, they took the Mi Idambe Wachi. That's the Sundance ceremony. When you say Wachi, that's talking about a ceremony. It's an abbreviation for dance, but it also has an older meaning, and I ain't gonna get into that because we're recording. And so anyway, it means to have sex. Okay, that's the first thing. Is when they did it, there must have been some kind of ceremonial dance that they did that way. The real way to say dance is nante. That's the correct way to say it. But everybody, including the Omahas, we say wachigake, but really that means to make love or have sex anyway. But we use that today. We use that word for that, and also the abbreviation wachi. That means a ceremony. That's all it means, a ceremony. So Mi'idambi Wachi is a Sundance ceremony. And so they took that, and then they took the Helushka. They took all four of them. When we came from the north, we brought four down. There was 8 originally, but 4 came with us. The others died out with their keepers. That means there was bundles and pipes to each one of them. They got left up that way, or they died here, and they either brought them here. I don't know the whole truth. You hear fragments of it. And then when they die, Mixie could tell you about that too. A lot of these guys, they took their bundles with them and their pipes, or they gave their pipes or their bundles to museums. And so anyway, and then the last one they took from us was a ghost dance that we traded the Pawnee. We traded the Helushka ceremony for the Wanake Wachi. And that's the ghost dance ceremony. And so they took that from us. And so out of all these ceremonies, only 2 were still being in use. First being the pipe never got put away. Our sacred pipe, the one God gave us. Nini Bawakube. Okay. The Helushka, my grandfather, Sylvester Warrior, he went to 76 people. One of them person was a woman, 75 men and 1 woman. But when they had that meeting and they had that voting, they asked her to wait outside. And so she did. And so anyway, out of them 75 men that he gave way to and he cooked for them, smoked with them, every single man said, don't bring it back. It was put away. But they didn't say it was put away. Well, everybody at that time knew why it was put away, because of guns, death, arresting, getting incarcerated. Everybody already knew that. They knew that. Okay? And so after all them men, notable men of the tribe said no, my grandpa Sylvester went ahead and did it anyway. Today, we got Helushka everywhere because of that. Today, we got powwow because of that. The Ponca people, that includes you guys from the north, our people made powwows, which is what they call pan-Indianism. And so we did that. And Mickey and I and William Dogma and Michael Snake, he was there. He didn't do a lot, but he was still there. But Mickey and I put on a feast. We fed a couple hundred people almost. And not one of them told us no at that time. And there were many fluent speakers at that time. And then we had another feast. And then I went away for that time, for that 11 years. And I came back. And, we still prayed. But a lot of people put their pipes down that I messed with because of that. And they're starting to come back. Mickey never did, though. He carried on. But at the same time, this is a vision that he and I had. And Basheda's William Dogma. That's his Ponca name, Basheda. It's a half-breed name. And so anyway, we had that vision, and we fed the people 4 days at down here. But we also went to the elders, gave baskets away. I gave everything I had monetary way, and I also lost my job over that, but it was worth it. I make more money now than what I did then, and it was all because of Wakanda. He blessed us for what we're trying to do for the people. This ain't about Mikasi or Eagle or Gail or Diane or Robert or Chris or Robin. This is about the people. Nyashigama. Ponca Nyashika Mashe. That's what it's about. And so that's what we're doing. This is our 2nd year, and I got a feeling it's going to be a hot one, but that's just the way it is. But we have to ask God to give us that strength and make us strong. Nadiho Wakanda, Awashkan, Tonga, Hidaga. God, make me strong, is what I just said. God, make me strong. And that's what we have to do. We say, Ndadi Hobakonda. Wawa Tongai. Hidaga. Father God or Father Creator, make us strong. And we're not asking to be He-Man and that, but we're talking about giving us the mental capacity, the physical capacity, but most of all, the spiritual capacity to do this. And it ain't easy. Chonga, Tega, Wijidea call. Something not good.
Oh, uh, just want to say good afternoon to all of you, and it's an honor to be here and to be able to visit with you and share a little bit about this ceremony with you. Listen to brother talk, and it's always good to be able to hear him talk. The language is something that um, I don't speak fluent. I don't speak fluent Ponca. He, brother Eagle, and we come from the same family, and he's been instrumental and probably going to be the one that saves our language for our people because of all of our elders are leaving us, and most of the ones that we grew up with are already gone. It's the next generation that now are at that age where they're going to be leaving us soon too. So I'm real thankful for my brother Eagle, and it's an honor to be here and be able to speak with you guys. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the Ponca Sundance. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Lakota Sundance and just my life experiences with the ceremony and the ceremonial way of life also. And then after I get done, and I could answer some questions if you have any questions too. But first of all, I'd like to kind of break down what the Sundance means to me and why what I've been told from the elders when I was young, and kind of how it has remained in our family throughout these generations. Because Sundance, where a lot of our Ponca people, like brother said, when they put it away a long time ago, the United States government told our chiefs that if they practiced our ceremonies, that they were going to put them in irons and they were going to lock them up. And our people decided at that time that it wasn't worth going to prison for and or getting killed for it, because they come in with the bayonets, come in at gunpoint, and tell our chiefs that if you continue to do this, people are going to die, people are going to go to prison. And so they made a decision to put our ceremony away. And it's not just the the Sundance ceremony. And it wasn't just our people either. They did that across the board to all the tribes and outlawed our ceremonial way of life. They wanted to take our identity and assimilate us. And one way to do that was to starve us out, to remove us from our homelands, to take our culture, to make it illegal to speak our language, to have our dances, to have our ceremonies. And so a lot of our grandmas and grandpas that went to boarding school got punished if they spoke their language. They got punished. A lot of our relatives that practiced ceremonies, some of them got killed. And that's why a lot of our ceremonies either went underground or they just stopped practicing them. And, it's been over 100 years since we had our Ponca Sunats. That's our big medicine, our number one ceremony. And through, like brother said, through prayer and some dedication and commitment, last year we were able to have our first Ponca Sundance. Um, we have a grandpa, his name is Augustus McDonald. And if any of you been to Ponca Powwow, we have the World Champion Fancy Dance contest at Ponca Powwow. That was Grandpa Augustus McDonald that went to a big powwow at Haskell Indian School, and they said whoever won that contest would bring the world championship home. Even before that, it was Augustus McDonald and Rough Face, Big State. It was those three that originated what you see now as the contemporary uh, fancy dance regalia. There was those three men that, and I might be leaving one out. Can't remember, but it was those men that originated that style of regalia that made the fancy dance bustles and started that dance. And so Grandpa Gus, he won that contest at Haskell and he brought it back, and that's why it's Ponca's hold the world champion fancy dance contest. But our Grandpa Gus was the youngest sun dancer at the last Ponca Sundance. Then 1972, my mom's brother, Craig Camp, he was the first one to dance again. And he danced up in Lakota country at Crow Dog's Paradise with Chief Leonard Crow Dog on the Rosebud Sioux Reservation. And so he was the next one that Sundanced. And then me, my older brother Kelly Silver, then he danced, and I danced. My children dance, my daughters now. So that Sundance never missed a generation in our family, in the McDonald family. We always still were able to practice our ceremonial ways due to those men that I just mentioned. And a lot of our families didn't get that. They didn't have that, and that way was lost to them, and so they don't know about it. And some of the people in our tribe, like brother said, they'll say, "Well, they put it away for a reason," and that's all. That's what it's common to hear that, but they don't know that that reason was they were going to get persecuted or killed or incarcerated if they continued that. So 1978, Freedom of Religion Act came, made it legal for all of us to practice our ceremonies again. But yet it took this long, before we were able to come back and bring our Sundance back home. I was born in 1973. 1972, like I said, my Uncle Craig went up and danced. He just got out of Vietnam. He went to Lakota country and danced there. Made relations with Leonard Crow Dog and Wounded Knee. 73, the occupation happened at Wounded Knee, South Dakota. And my Uncle Carter, my Uncle Craig's older brother, was the war chief there in Wounded Knee and co-founder of the American Indian Movement. If you all know what the American Indian Movement is, that was my mom's older brother, Carter. Dennis Banks, Russell Means, and Clyde Bellecourt that founded the American Indian Movement. And then in 1973, in April, when the occupation was over, they all went and set up a big camp at Crow Dog's Paradise, and then there was another Sundance that took place in 1973. And I was born in May of 1973, and that Sundance took place in August of 1973. So that was the first Sundance that I ever went to, was a Lakota Sundance at Crow Dog's Paradise, 1973. And so I was raised either on the front lines in resistance camps, fighting for our survival, the way our culture, our way of life, our land, our water, or I was raised in ceremony around Sundance, around fireplace, the teepee. And I never went to church. I've never been to church. I don't know any other way than our Sundance way of life, our sweat lodge, our teepees. Um, we had grandpa that was real strong in the Peoria church, Grandpa Lewis McDonald. And so our families always had that way too. And then The last bundle here in Ponca country was from our grandpa, and it went down to Harris Williams from his dad. So our family's been real instrumental in trying to keep our ways alive, and the teachers and mentors that I've had in my life brought me here to where I am today. And I wouldn't be who I am. I wouldn't be the man that I am and do the things that I do without having those people in my life that instilled that in me. Um, in 1980, I Sundance for the first time at Bulldog's Paradise, and my uncle Craig took me into the circle, and I was 7 years old. And I've danced every year since that 1980 when I was seven. I just turned 49 a couple of weeks ago. Um, we would take my grandma and my mom and all my family would pack up cars and we'd caravan up north to the Sundance. And there was a time when I was a teenager, maybe about 13 years old, that my grandma was in the kitchen packing up, getting everything ready to go up north to the Sundance. And this was a yearly ritual for us. And she was crying. I said, Grandma, I said, what's the matter? I said, don't you be happy? We're going to go up north with the Sundance tomorrow. She said, I'm happy. She said, but I'm sad that the rest of our people don't have that. They don't get to go. They don't get to have that blessing. They don't get to have that healing. And my cousins and my sisters and brothers, nobody takes them up there. She said, someday, I hope you can bring it home. So my life, that's been a goal that someday, we could be here where we're at today, where we was at last summer, and bring our Sundance home for our people, so that our people could be healed. We could have healing. We could bring our unity back, bring our traditional council of chiefs back. There's a difference between our chiefs, the way that they think and conduct themselves, and between nowadays the modern council business committee that conducts the daily business of the tribe. They don't always have the same compassion that a chief did, to always put himself last and put the people first. And that's something that I hope that we bring back too. That through the ceremonial way of life, that our traditional leaders start stepping up, and that some of the younger generation that's been raised around that fireplace, been raised around that drum, been raised in a sacred way, will step into those leadership positions, and will have leaders that actually put the people first and put themselves last again, because that's the way it's supposed to be. My grandma also told me a long time ago that it's not the richest man in the tribe isn't the man that possesses the most, the one that has the most possessions, but so he's the one that gives away the most. That's the one that people are going to respect. That man that takes care and feeds the people, that makes sure people have food, clothing, wood. You know, she always said that somebody comes to the house, even if the only thing you got is a glass of water, then offer them some water, feed them. Those are our old teachings. So I try to live my life the best I can. I'm not saying I'm perfect by any means. I'm a human being, I make mistakes. We all do. That's how we evolve. That's how we learn from our mistakes. Try to be better. So I'm not trying to sit and preach and say I'm any better than any other person. But just through my experiences, I've learned some things about this ceremony, and was able to come home and run our first Ponca Sundance for our people in 100 years. Through my brother help, my son's help, my daughters, our other relatives, the women that came and supported and danced. People brought food out, helped us out. Young men came and worked. And it was a beautiful, real beautiful strength of unity. And it took each one of us, every one of us, to do this and bring this back. Um, in 2016, uh, I I went to Sundance at Crow Dog's Paradise and danced there. And on August the 7th, that dance was over. On August the 8th, when I got up to the top of the hill, there's no cell phone service or anything. You know, when you're in ceremony, you don't have your phone anyways. But when I got up to the top of the hill, my phone started ringing, buzzing off the hook, you know, and I got a call to action to go to Standing Rock to the where they were trying to put in the Dakota Access Pipeline, the DAPL pipeline, and drill underneath the Missouri River. And our people were from the Missouri River, the Nishude, where the Niobrara runs into the Missouri, the headwaters right there. That was our main village site. And so I felt obligated. I felt like I had a responsibility to go up there and join with Hunk Papa relatives at Standing Rock and protect the river that sustained our life for generations and generations and generations, gave us life and took care of us, that river. And so I felt that call to duty and I went to Standing Rock. And August the 9th, we had the first blockade there and stopped them from going in the construction. And then for the next 7 months, I was there. And, I was asked to assume leadership by the Ocheti Sakoi, the what they call the Great Sioux Nation. They call themselves Osheti Sakoi when their seven bands are together. They don't have clan system like we have. We have our clan system, but they have their bands, which is they're different. It's kind of like seven big tribes come together and make one. And they asked me to assume leadership of the camp there, and so I was there for 7 months. And then when I was there, I had a lot of dreams. And even before that, when I was 12 years old, I dreamed about being there. And I talked to medicine men and my mom and my grandma. At that time, my grandma was still alive, and I told them about my dream and what I saw, and that it was going to be a big fight, big battle. And that dream was Standing Rock. And so I went there. And I had other dreams while I was there, and some of our grandpas that were gone came and talked to me, gave me instructions. And long story short, basically they told me that it was time to come home and do this, bring our Sundance home. They also told me to bring our Earth Lodges home and start and build Earth Lodges and start having our councils in there and bring all the bring all the leaders, traditional leaders and spiritual leaders from the surrounding tribes together to these meetings in this Earth Lodge. And so in September, we're going to build our first Ponca Earth Lodge in 150 years here on our reservation here at Wadigo. And so that's something else that I'm really looking forward to and proud to be a part of. And so I want to also invite you all and encourage you, if you can come and if that's something that's possible or you're interested in, come back and help us build an Earth Lodge in September. We'll be putting the first one up in 150 years. And so I wanted to just kind of introduce myself in that way so you know a little bit about my background and why um, I'm able to speak on this today. And probably out of everybody in our tribe, um, I've danced more and longer, even than my own uncles that started it. They got older and they don't dance anymore, but I'm still strong and young enough to continue. So I'm gonna keep doing this as long as I can till one of my sons steps up and can take over. And be confident in everything. And I don't know how long that'll be. It might be soon. Then I'll be able to maybe sit under the shade and enjoy my age as a not an elder but an older man. Um, so the Sundance has a lot of different meanings, and our Ponca people, um, we grew food we're known for our agriculture. We're known for our horticulture. We're known for our corn, our sacred corn. We had, the best corn of all the plains tribes would come and trade with us for corn. And that's another story, that goes along with it too. I also helped fight and stop the Keystone XL pipeline for the last 15 years. And one of the weapons we used to defeat the Keystone XL pipeline was our sacred corn. And that came through a dream too that gave me instructions on how to use our sacred corn to stop a pipeline. And I know it sounds far fetched right now, but I actually used a legal stance that went all the way to Washington D.C. to the FDA and got our corn certified as sacred, and then used that to protect the land by planting our sacred corn in the pipeline corridor. And that was something that set precedence for all of our tribes to use our medicine plants and to use our ceremonial uh, medicines to protect the land. So I also want to put that in your minds to think about, these things when we're being attacked. Our way of life, our culture, our water, our lands being attacked, and we have to think outside the box from these different angles on how to save our land. It's not always to pick up a gun, it's not always to go roadblock. Even though I was raised that pretty militant and I've blocked a lot of roads, I'm trying to think of other ways to do it in a good way, in a meaningful way, and in a prayerful way. And it seems like when we do things that way, we get more support, and people, their compassion and their spirits more compelled to come and help us. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Sundance here, um, on a standpoint from our Ponca people. Whenever we're hunting, whenever we're growing food, we need rain. And our Sundance, the pledgers, the dancers that pledge to dance, are praying for a good, bountiful harvest. They're praying for good rain to come. They're praying for good hunting. And we can't have good hunting unless the animals are eating good too. You got to have good grass. You got to have berries to harvest, berries for the animals to eat, good grass for the buffalo. Want our horses to be healthy so we can be able to travel and hunt, do the things that we do. All that comes from the rain. So when you see that Sundance tree, you see it looks like a nest up there. We put the berries up there, the choke cherries or the sand plums, and it looks like a nest in that tree, and that represents the thunderbird, that nest of the thunderbird, the one that brings the rain, brings the thunder, and we blow those eagle bone whistles, calling to the Creator, like almost sounds like a little bird calling to its mother. Sounds like that. You're calling that thunderbird to come, to bring the rain, to bring the water, so that we could have a bountiful harvest to feed our people. During that time, the very first day of the Sundance, we go get the tree, the sacred tree. It's usually a cottonwood tree. Cottonwood trees and willow trees are real hard to kill. You can cut them down and put them in the dirt, and they'll start drinking that water, and they'll root themselves. They'll stay alive a long time. Sometimes they'll just take off again. If you cut them down, that stump that's there, it regrows. They don't want to die, so they're real strong. And that first day, when we go and get the sacred tree, that tree even represents an enemy life that's going to sacrifice. We take its life and we bring it back and we make it one of our own. And we put it back up in the middle of our people, and then we pray with it, that tree of life. And put that nest in there, like I'm talking about, for the thunderbird to come, we call it. And each dancer fasts for 4 days with no food or water. And a lot of people ask me, why do we fast? And what I was told when I was younger was we fast because we're going to go without food and we're going to go without water so that our people don't have to do it. So our families, our children won't go hungry throughout the year. They won't be thirsty. We're gonna take that on ourselves, and that's a hard thing to do. If you ever went without water for a few days and do it in the sun and dance, it's real hard. The food, you know, you get hungry, but it's that water of life that probably is the hardest thing to do. And through my experiences, and not what I was told or what, but what I learned through experiences, that when you fast and you go with that food and you go with that water, you start feeling everything. You can feel the Mother Earth. You can feel the animals. You can feel your brother beside you. You can feel your sister beside you, what they're going through, what they're feeling. You can feel what's happening in your community, what's happening in your family. You're opening up a door where you're more connected to everything, to all living things. And the weaker your body becomes, the stronger your spirit. It feels like that. So when you fast, if you do it for real and you don't eat or drink, your body gets weaker every day. And your body is holding your spirit like your spirit's inside. Your body's the bondage that holds your spirit in. So when you hear people say that near death experience, they saw God or they talked to an angel or they had a vision, that's because their spirit was released enough from the bondage of their body to be able to have that, achieve that higher level of spirituality, to achieve that higher level of I don't know, I don't even know the words to say it. Probably in our language there's a word, but in English I don't know how to say it. When you achieve that higher level of spirituality, um, it opens you up to everything. And even Wakanda, you're closer to Wakanda, and you can feel it and hear it and receive those instructions and hear them. That's when the dreams come. And even though you're in a weakened state, you feel good, feel happy, and there's no way I could explain it. The feeling of just pure spirituality. Um, so that's why myself, I think that fasting was a part of our ceremony, is so that you could do that and feel that and achieve that higher level, you know. And so 4 days it goes on like that, dancing. And at some point in time, a dancer, a pledger is going to choose to give his give his flesh or her flesh and spill blood on Mother Earth, offer your blood. And again, there's ways back in our teachings, and they tell you, different reasons why we did that. Um, Again, it was told to me that you, if you ever seen any of you have children, and you seen your baby fall and scrape their knee, you get that little feeling in your stomach. You want to catch them and save them, and it kind of makes you feel those butterflies. You don't want to see your child hurt, or if you see grandma or grandpa having a hard time, or maybe they fell down or something too. That love and compassion, you don't want to see them get hurt. You try to help them before that happens. You carry their chair for them, or get water for them, or you hold their hand to help them get up the stairs, because you have love and compassion for those people. You don't want to see them hurt. So when we take that pain, that's what you're asking, Wakanda. Let me take that pain so that my people don't have to suffer. Let me suffer for them so that they don't suffer throughout this year. And that's the way it was told to me. Also, it was told to me that when we're born into this earth, we don't have nothing but ourselves. that Wakanda made everything, all this beauty that we see, the earth and the sky and the stars and the water, the grass and the trees and all the animals and us. So to us, passing that plate in church and putting money in it is a foreign concept. To me, it's not real meaningful to put some money in that plate because the only thing that I truly have to give to the Creator is myself. And so when I pierce that Sundance, I'm giving of myself, that little piece of flesh that I take off. That's the only thing I have to offer Wakanda to say, hear my prayers, answer my prayers. I'm showing you my faith. This is my faith in you, putting my faith in you. Then that Sundance also, people thought that we were worshiping the sun, but that's not what it means. It means the sun is witnessing the ceremony. The sun is the witness to what we're doing, to our sacrifice, to our dance. We're calling the Thunderbird. We're offering, we're giving of ourselves. We're humbling ourselves before the Creator. And the sun is witnessing all that. That's what that means. It's not a sun worshiping ceremony. We're dancing in the sun, and that's witnessing what we're doing. That's why it's called a sun dance. But a lot of people don't know that. Why they call it sun dance. Some people think we're sun worshippers. We've talked to Wakanda. We worship Wakanda. You know. So to break it down as as fast as I could in simple terms, that's how I would explain it. If somebody asked me, "What does a sun dance mean?" It's a time when a man and or a woman humbles themselves to the smallest being that they could be and sacrifice themselves for the people, for your family, for your children, for your mom and dad, grandma, grandpa, so that they don't have to suffer in their lifetime. They could be healthy, they could be strong, they could go without pain, they could have food. That's what it's about. And so I've dedicated my life to this way of life. Like brother said, I've danced 42 years. Um, there's a there's a spiritual strength that takes over, and there's a time when that test comes where you're dancing and you probably feel like you can't go on. Your body's just had enough. But that's when that spirit comes out and carries you through the next 2 days. That's when your spirit comes out and carries you through that hunger and through that thirst. And so we pierce ourselves to the tree. And they said that's a direct link to the creator when you're hooked to that tree of life from yourself to the tree of life to creator. You have a direct link. You feel it. It feels that way too. Um, so our Ponca Sundance, we're going to be having our Ponca Sundance here in a few weeks on the 22nd. We'll go get our tree. June 23rd will be our first day dancing. And I also want to speak a little bit to why right now it's so important for us to be doing this. Um, I don't know where you all live other than what you told me, Alabama. I don't know where the rest of you are at or where you live at, but I travel. I'm a truck driver, and I live on a reservation in South Dakota right now in a camp. I got my camper set up on the river, and I have a little baby boy up in Standing Rock. He's with his mama, and so I keep him for 2 weeks, and then I go on the road and I drive for 2 weeks. And everywhere I go, people call on me to come and speak or come and have ceremony to help people and speak about whatever's going on, if we're protecting the water, the land, or social justice, or our spiritual way of life. Um, I try to go and somebody asks me, I try to go and help them. But everywhere I go, I see one thing right now, and I see genocide, and I'm seeing the genocide of 3 generations right now. Three generations are being wiped out because there's even grandmas and grandpas that are using meth, and then their children and their children's children are using meth. That whole three generations of a family, sometimes all in one home, are all using meth. And so everywhere I go, I see people that I grew up with, people that I've known all my life, and I don't recognize them anymore. I see young people that aren't even ashamed to use a needle and put meth in their arm or in their body. And that poison is poisoning our whole existence. It's poisoning our way of life. It's poisoning our minds. Those people that use that aren't even the same people. They don't think the same way anymore. They don't look the same way anymore. And when I'm sundancing here at White Eagle and I'm giving of myself, I'm praying for my Ponca people to overcome this, for my Ponca people to be healthy again, to be proud of who they are again, to have our language, to have our songs. We got the best songs that I'm not even gonna be massa about it, man. Our Ponca songs are better than any songs that anybody has anywhere. We're known for our singers, we're known for our songs, our dancers. But even that's going away. These next generations not learning, they don't want to sing, they don't want to dance. All they want to do is figure out where that next high is coming from. And it's not just here at White Eagle, it's not just here at Ponca. It's every res that I go through, and it's every little small town. It's not just a native thing. It's a it's an economic thing. It's poor people that are using it. Poor white people, black people, Mexican people, native people. It's a cheap drug that lasts a long time. So it's a genocide that's happening of three generations that I'm witnessing. And so it's really, really important for us to bring this ceremony back right now because we don't have no time to waste. We don't have no time ahead of us. We got children that are already suffering from addiction, and we have grandchildren that we're trying to save before it gets to them. And so this was a really important time. And that when I go out there and dance last year, and when I go out here and dance this year, um, that's going to be my number one prayer is that we can find a way to overcome and fight and win a victory over this mess that's taking place. I left a little something out too that I want to talk about. You know, brother was talking about the bundles being put away, the bundles, all our sacred bundles, and we had bundles for different ceremonies. And our Sundance bundle was uh, was buried when they put our Sundance away 111 years ago, 112 years ago. And last year, lot of tribes go up to Lakotas because they have their Sundance, they have their medicine men, and they give away and they'll learn and they get a bundle from a Lakota or one of the tribes that has their Sundances. Then they take that bundle home and then they run a Sundance. And we could have done that a long time ago. You know, we could have danced to other tribes' music. We could have carried another tribe's bundle and had our Sundance a long time ago. But our Ponca people are really proud, and myself, even my own pride, you know, of my Ponca people. I couldn't do that in good conscience. I couldn't do that. We need our own songs back. We need our own ceremony back. We need our own bundle back. And so last year, before we had our first Ponca Sundance in 100 years, I fasted for 16 days. 16 days before the ceremony, and I made it the medicine on the 16th day. I made our medicine and put our bundle back together for our Ponca people. And so now today we have our Ponca Sundance bundle. It's a Ponca Sundance bundle. And we're bringing back our Ponca Sundance. And that's real important that we do it that way. And my nephew over here, he's sitting over here, Brandon, real face. He's one of our singers, one of our Ponca singers. He grew up around that drum. He carries a lot of songs, and we have a lot of young men that know these ways, but they don't practice them as much as they should. We all get caught up in this other life. It's hard to walk in balance and live in both worlds, to be a Ponca and then to also be United States citizen, or to be caught up living in a city. We could have been out there on the river at home. Our home's out there on the river, hunting, fishing, gathering, growing. That's who we are as Ponca people. And I'd rather live that way. I feel more comfortable. I camp out most of the year. If it's too cold, I'm in a house or a camper and I got a wood stove. But most of the year when the weather's nice, I I sleep outside. I put a teepee up or a tent, or I live in a camper on the river because that's where I'm comfortable. I don't like being in I don't like being in the city. I like being on concrete. I like to I like to be connected with Mother Earth. I like to be connected with the Star Nation and hear the wind through the trees. And that's just me. Some people can find balance and be able to walk in both worlds a little better than I can. But that's something else that's real hard for our young people, and why it's so important for us to have our Sundance back, so that our people have something to look forward to, that they have hope again. Like Grandma said, she was sad because all her other relatives couldn't go up there and receive a blessing, she would get rejuvenated each summer when we had Sundance. Whatever aches and pains were were ailing her, they went away for that time, and she came back feeling good and going to powwow and dancing and having a good time again. And that's what we want for all of our Ponca people, all of our elders, all of our young people that are suffering from addiction, all of our women, the abuses that they're going through, the children, abuses that they're going through, our our orphans, our relatives that are locked behind bars. We want all of our people to come together at our Ponca Sundance and receive healing and receive blessing and be whole again, be happy, be strong. That's what it's about. So if y'all have any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them. Do we lose the other three? No, that's not right. Okay. Does anybody have any questions? The only dumb question is the question not asked. I can't
I
hear
was
you.
curious.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I was curious about how tough is that to go without water for that long? I've done a little fasting, but I've never gone without water that kind of length of time. So how bad is that? What do you have to go
That's
through for that?
that's the hardest part. That's the hardest part of the whole ceremony for sure. Um, and I couldn't put a number on. If you said you wanted me to give you a scale of 1 to 10, I'd say 10. Going without water is definitely a 10 on the scale of suffering. Um, I have some. We're not as strong as our elders used to be. Our grandmas and grandpas, the generations before, were stronger than us. We eat all this bad food. We drink pop with sugar in it. We had no sugar in our diets till 100 years ago. The average American only consumed 5 pounds of sugar. Now they're consuming 120 pounds of sugar a year. Uh, us as average Americans, the and then us, we had no sugar in our diet. Now we have all this sugar. That's why we're having diabetes and heart disease, and everything was our changing diets and getting commodities. But my point is that we're not as strong as generations before us were. And me as a leader, I have to recognize and I have to watch all the dancers and see. I want them all to finish. I don't want them to get discouraged and quit or not be able to make it. That weakens the circle and it weakens the other dancers too. I want everybody to finish. And so I have some medicine that I use that I make some tea. And if I see a point in time where one of the dancers or all of the dancers needs some of that medicine, a little bit of that tea, then I take care of them and make sure because we don't want anybody to get hurt either. We don't want somebody to suffer to the point where it damages them beyond repair. Each person is making a pledge. They're making a vow to Wakanda. They're not making a vow to me as the leader, or they're not making a vow to just our circle either. That commitment is between them and Wakanda, and I'm there to try to help them fulfill their commitment, and that's my role. And but definitely the water is the toughest thing. You know, 4 days without food, yeah, you're hungry. 4 days without water, you feel like you're gonna die.
Yeah, I would think that would be absolutely the toughest part. Yeah.
I've been dancing 42 years and we never lost anybody yet that I know of.
Oh, good. Good.
Anybody else?
So,
Hey,
how
you
do
can
you
see my name
prepare?
is Connie. Oops. Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead, Connie.
Go ahead, Connie.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was late and I wanted to apologize. I'm kind of sick today, and I hadn't met you yet. I just want to say thank you, and I want to say thanks for for stopping by, and I've enjoyed listening to you. Thank you.
Connie, can I ask you a question? Connie,
Yes, absolutely. Yes, I'm
um,
here.
my brother Eagle told me that you were a McDonald. Can you tell me your mother's name?
Yes, yes, I am. Mother's name is Judy. They call
Judy
her
Mack.
Judy Mack.
Yeah, Judy Mack. That's my auntie.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
she's my mother.
she is my auntie. So
Isn't that?
you're so your grandma and my grandma were sisters.
Yeah. Yes, Aunt Jewel
Yeah,
was
yeah.
my grandpa's
Your
John
dad.
McDonald's sister.
Oh, okay,
Is that right?
okay.
Right.
Yeah,
John
yeah. So
McDonald was my grandfather.
Grandma Jewel is my mother's mother. My mother's Casey. Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
real
Yeah.
good to
I've
meet
only
you.
met her.
Okay. Well, it's good to meet you.
Yes. I look
Hope
forward
you
to
could
seeing
come.
you.
Yeah, come home and
Yes, me too.
we'll introduce you to the family. If you could come home during the Ponca Powwow,
Thank you.
we're all there at
Yes.
Ponca Powwow too. Sundance part of us will be there,
Yeah.
but Ponca Powwow, the whole family be there. So
Yeah.
we
Uncle
look
Charles
forward
is
to that.
probably coming. Aunt Gina. Gina is
Yeah,
my mom's sister. Gina
yeah,
Rush and
yeah.
Uncle Charles. He probably will be
Oh,
there, I think. But anyway, it's very nice to meet you. I've heard your name a million times.
okay, well,
And I'm
good.
I'm glad to finally get to see you. Hopefully see you in person soon. Thank you again. I enjoyed listening.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Uh,
See us.
Yeah.
So it's gonna stay with the house. We're gonna go. She can stay there. And
I don't know what's the girl's name on the corner.
Diane.
Diane, you had something you wanted to say?
Yeah. How do you prepare for the Sundance? Like prior to the actual event?
That's a super good question. Because the the 4 days of the Sundance is actually the easiest part because it's the other 361 days of the year that is the hardest part of our lives. For 4 days, we're there in ceremony, and like I said, your spirit carries you through. Your spirit carries you through. But those other 361 days of trying to live and walk in both worlds as a native, as a Ponca, that's the hardest part. And so being clean and sober is the first way that a person prepares is trying to live a good life and be compassionate and generous and carry those virtues of a Ponca. Um, that's hard to live that way and be that way and be good and talk good and help people and feed people and just always try to have a good thought. And nowadays, one of our laws a long time ago was don't talk bad about another Ponca. But yeah, that's hard to do. Everybody's talking, everybody gossips now. You got social media out there. It's all that drama. We got alcohol and drugs and different temptations. Um, so I would say that the first thing to prepare is your way of life. To walk in a good sacred way of life. My mom, she told me a long time ago when I had my first child. She said, when you came to me, she said, son, when you came to me, there was billions of people, billions of human beings all over this planet, but your spirit chose me to be your mother. Now you have this little spirit that chose you to be a father. And we have to remember that our life is sacred, that our children's life is sacred. And try to live that way every day to try to walk in a sacred way of life. And so I would say the first thing that in preparation for this ceremony is to get your life right and to think right and to try to prepare your mind and your spirit. And as far as preparing physically, it helps to be in shape, to exercise, to eat good. It helps you want to be, well hydrated and everything before that. But that's nowhere near as important as being mentally ready, being spiritually ready. Because like I said, no matter what, your body's gonna get weak, no matter how strong you are. I mean, I'm 49 years old. You can see me, I'm in good shape for my age. But what I'm gonna ask my body to do, it couldn't do if I wasn't spiritually and mentally prepared. My body just couldn't do it. And I want my body to be weak by the end of that dance so that my spirit could be up here instead of in here. I want to feel last year after fasting for 16 days, that's the longest I ever fasted. And don't get me wrong, I didn't fast without water for 16 days. I fasted without food for 16 days. And I ingested as little of water as possible during those 16 days, but I did drink some of my medicine tea and things like that during that time. But by that time, and I ate on that 16 day after I made the bundle, and then the next day we started dancing, and I fasted another 4 days after that. Um, by that time, my body was so weak, but I felt so good. I just felt so good, and but I could feel everything that was going on in my community. I could feel the addictions over there. I could feel the ones that were hungry. I could feel the ones that were sad. I could feel the elders that were alone. I could feel it all. It was real overwhelming, and I don't know that I'll ever be to that point in my life again where I could just feel it. Like if any of you watch Star Wars, I felt the Force. you know, I could feel everything. Um, but that's a good question, and my answer is mentally and spiritually prepare yourself all year every day, every year of your life. And physically, it's not that important because your spiritual strength's going to carry you through.
Well,
Anything else? Anybody else?
What, just because I've not been in the culture, what actually happens during the Sundance? I know, I think that was talked about in one of the culture days before, but if you could go over it again, we would appreciate it.
What happens? Like what takes? Um, so the Sundance, I kind of explained the tree, and we have sweat lodges there. Um, we use the sweat lodge ceremony, the fire, the tree, the drums there. Our singers are there. So every morning we'll go out at sunup, at the sunrise, and we'll go into the circle. It's a brush arbor. It's a arbor that's built, and the trees in the center of it, and the altars are out there. And so we go out there and we'll dance for what we call 7 rounds. So we'll go out there and dance for an hour or 2 hours, maybe even 3 hours, and then there'll be a break where you go underneath the shade, and you're gonna take a break for about 45 minutes or so, and then you'll go back out and dance again, and you'll dance 7 times throughout the day like that. And during that time, these songs are being sung. They're prayer songs. These Sunday songs are prayer songs. Also, you're in prayer the entire time for those 4 days, from the time you go in until the time it's finished. It's just prayer. So you're dancing, you're praying, you're fasting. All of these components are coming together to bring you closer to Wakanda, and you're asking Wakanda to recognize your sacrifice, to see the sacrifice that you're making and recognize your sacrifice and hear your prayers and answer your prayers. And that happens for 4 days. And then, like I said, during that time, at some time, the pledger, will pierce their skin and offer their flesh to Wakanda, as an offering, because that's, like I said, that's the only thing I have to offer. I can't give God my truck, or give God the $100 bill or $5 bill that I have in my wallet or anything, and that be meaningful to the Creator. I don't think, because He created everything, and I'll just be giving Him something that was His already. My spirit belongs to Wakanda. The only thing that I have that's truly mine is just my body, myself. So that's why we pierce our flesh and offer our flesh. And so my body's covered with scars. My chest, my back, my arms. After 42 years, I have made 100, over 100 flesh offerings.
Does that, when you say you dance and then you go back for 45, is that staggered, or do all the dancers go out at once? Or is it like a constant, somebody's always dancing while somebody
No,
else
it's
is
all
back?
together. Everybody goes out and dances at the same time. Everybody takes a break at the same time. The singers need a break too. The singers can't just sing for 4 days straight. They need to be able to take a break and get some coffee, and they're not fasting, they eat. So we take those breaks. The singers need that time too.
I guess another question I had is, um, how do you, while you're doing this, you're having other people watching this ceremony. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. As someone performing the ceremony, how do the people around you affect what you're going through? Do you notice them at all because of the physical hardship you're going through and the concentration, or
Well, when you're actually out there dancing and you're in the ceremony, you're not supposed to like pay attention to what's going on outside the ceremony. But also there's like our Sundance back in the day was huge, and you know, thousand people would come from all over the place. Different tribes would come and set up camp, and people come there because they want healing, because they want that blessing to too. And it's smaller now, but underneath the shade arbor, it's in a circle all the way around. The dancers are in one little area that's partitioned off for just the dancers. Then the supporters is what we call them, your family, your friends, the rest of the tribe. They they sit underneath all the rest of the arbor, and they sit and they'll stand in place and dance. Some of them sit in their chairs, some sit on the ground, and they pray with us, and they're there. A lot of times some people come, they have cancer or something that's going on in their life, physically ill, or maybe some of them are suffering with their whatever they're going through in their mind, or they're in mourning, they're they're having a hard time, and they come there and it uplifts them. I don't know any of you, if you go to church, I heard people talk about the Holy Spirit. I've heard of that, and I think that Holy Spirit's in our ceremonies too. I think what they're talking about, I've felt it in our ceremonies. We don't call it the same Holy Spirit, um, but you get that uplifting. You feel that spirit and that healing. And I've seen many miracles. I've seen people come and get the healing that they're asking for from cancer or brain tumors or lots of different things. When my little sister was young, she had seizures, really bad seizures, and we brought her into the Sundance and we prayed for her, and she received a healing, and she never had a seizure again. And so there's miracles that happen, just like any other faith. When you put your faith in Wakanda and talk to Wakanda and pray, then your prayers are answered, through your faith, and that's what the Sundance is about too. That that tearing of your flesh and offering of your flesh is, telling Wakanda, this is how much I believe in you, put my faith in you, give up myself to you.
Okay. I thank you for really explaining all this to me. It's something I've not really encountered. So, yeah, you gave me a lot to think about today, and I really appreciate you taking the time to teach my wife and I some things.
Oh, there's a Brother Eagle. I think we're done with the question and answers. So I'm gonna turn it back to my brother. I just want to say thank you to all of you too for keeping the language alive, for making this commitment and dedication that you're all doing. It's really important. It's inspiring, and I hope to be able to sit and talk with you in our Ponca language someday myself too. So, we blow.
Oh, gee, we blow. You know, we're gonna just do a few notes. We're gonna do a few notes right now. Get your pens and papers out. When we talk about the Sundance, it's called Me y Dombe Watching. Me y Dombe. Me y Dombe Watching. And then the next thing we're gonna talk about is that tree. That sacred tree is called Jean Wakube. Jean Wakube. I think you guys are good enough to do it by ear, to write it down. The next word is Jean Wakube. That's the Sundance tree. The tree that we use, the type of tree, is called Ma'ahi. Cottonwood tree, or just Ma'a, cottonwood. But the second one is Jean Wakube. Jean Wakube. And if you guys got that down, the type of tree is Ma'ahi. Ma'ahi. The third one is the type of tree is Ma'ahi. When we're getting pierced, when we're piercing, it's called Jahe Water. Jahe Water. Getting pierced, we're piercing. Jahe Water. Jahe Water. Jahe Water. Piercing. There's another word we could use, but I just chose that word. Bachapi also means to pierce or cut one open. Bachapi. And if you were going to say we're piercing, we would just say Bachapi water. Bachapi water. Sometimes I don't tell you the other ways to say it. I want you to get familiar with one way, and then I could teach you the multiple ways of speaking our language because there's a lot of ways to say a lot of things. And then the little bitty pegs or skewers, whatever you want to call them. I just call them pegs. But we call them in Ponca. Those little bitty pegs are called Jean Jinga. Jean Jinga. Jean Jinga. The pegs, when we get cut open, they put them in your skin and they tie a thong on it, a rope. That little peg is called Jean Jinga. Jean Jinga. Some people might call it Waku Jinga. Waku Jinga. That means a little awl. You women that sew or do kind of mendings or something, you probably know that word as a awl. But I don't think it's appropriate because when we talk about an awl, we're talking about metal. Excuse me. Jean Jinga. And now when you're talking about when we get cut open, what the tool that we use is called Mahi Bai Jinga. Mahi Bai Jinga. Mahi Bai Jinga. Mahi Bai Jinga. And that's what we use to get cut open with. It's a scalpel or a small knife that's sharp. Mahi Bai Jinga. A small one. Mahi Bai Jinga. Mahi Bai Jinga. Mahi Bai Jinga. And then the thing that we use to tie it onto our pegs, whether you're piercing on the back, I mean the front or the back, or your arms, it's called ha jinga, a thong or a rope. We use the same word, ha jinga, ha jinga. Hajinga. So that rope is tied to the Jean Wakube. It's tied to it. People place their ropes on them, or we have a common rope for multiple people. Just depends. Some families do it, some individually do it, some mark them. But the term is called Hajinga. And then that firebird nest up there, some people call it eagle bird nest, but really it's talking about the Wagion. That's the thunderbird. It's a thunderbird, and that nest is just called okay. The fire or thunderbird, or some people call it firebird, thunderbird, but I know about thunderbird. I don't know. Translate either way. It's called Wagion. 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 That's the thunderbird. Thunderbird. Wagion. In that nest, that cross what Mickey was talking about that represented them little chicks in there, it's called Way Ta with a T Ta Ugle. Way Ta Ugle. That's the nest of the firebird. And some people might even say Wagion Way Ta Ugle. But I don't want to confuse you guys. Or you could just simply say Way Ta Ugle. Way Ta Ugle. Way Ta Ugle. Way Ta Ugle. And then them whistles he's talking about. Them whistles are called Nisude. Nisude. Accent marker on the U. Nisude. That bone that is called an eagle bone whistle, but it's the true name of it. That whistle was that name Nisude means Sundance whistle. I don't know if it's in that dictionary, but Nisude literally means Sundance whistle. Nisude. Nisude. And then those medallions we wear medallion. That's called Wana P. Wana P. Wana P. People also use that for necklace. It's also a medallion. It's Wana P. Wana P. Wana P. Sometimes those medallions are beaded. Sometimes they're just leather. Wana P. And the next word I'm going to give you is earring. And the reason I'm going to bring the earrings in is because in the Ponca culture, no daughter, no daughter had the right to wear earrings unless her father was a sun dancer. Her father had to dance in the sun dance to be able to wear earrings publicly. And that word is called ooh wee. It's like you hear them people saying ooh wee. It sounds similar to that, but it's ooh wee, ooh wee, ooh wee. U, acute accent marker, glottal stop, and then W, nozzle I. Nozzle I doesn't have no grob on it. It don't have no grav. It's just ooh, and that means earring. But it pertains to what we're talking about. We're talking about the Sundance, so it pertains to that. Ooh, ooh, and then that Sundance skirt that men wears. It's the with broadcloth or breechcloth. It's called jeagan, and some people say j anglais, but it's jeagan, and that's specifically talking about the skirt that a man wears at Sundance. Jeagan, jeagan. Go ahead. This one right there to the left. Okay, we have that same thing right here, a breechcloth, a cloth or original tan buckskin, the covering for a man's lower body in place of shorts or like. Okay, in here it says J D. That is correct also. J D. And if you guys look in your dictionaries on page 233, don't get it mixed up with Wayne Kanhaji. Y Kanhaji. That is not the same thing. That's something that's worn by a woman. And then there's another one that says Wayne Ukibate, and that's just talking about like a material or blanket type material that was used to wrap around somebody. That ain't the one. So if you look on page 220, 233, the one that you're to look at is breech cloth, J.R. de Glun. J.R. de Glun. J.R. Now, whatever one's correct, I don't know. I heard both ways, though. J.R. de Glun, J.R. Glun. So either way, uh, you could write them both down. J.R. de Glun. J.R. de Glun or J.R. Glun. I don't know. I don't know which one would be correct. I just heard them. But we're always going to refer back to the dictionary if we can. If I don't got it in there, we just go with what I was told. Okay, and the dress that a woman wears is called Wate. 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 That is the most common dress a woman has. Now, if we're talking about a buckskin dress, you would say hawate, but we're not talking about a buckskin dress. We're talking about a common dress that they wear in camp, like a camp dress or even a Sundance dress. They're the common form that's not all souped up or beautified or made look all sharp and stuff. Oh. And so for the dress for the woman, wate, wate. Now out there, the only people allowed to wear moccasins, what they call himbe ukede. Himbe ukede is for aged people, diabetics in modern time. I mean, don't get me wrong, if you can't take it, I'm sure they'll probably let you wear them, but most likely no. Okay, now the sacred medicines, the common ones that we use is called mazi, 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 mazi. That's cedar. That is the strongest herb for blessing and warding off evil in the Ponca people. Remember that cedar is used to bless and ward off evil. They said that is the strongest medicine we have in that fashion because there's all kinds of types of medicine, but we're not going to get in. We're talking about Sundance. The second one is called Beiji Huta. Beiji Huta. Beiji Huta. When you're talking regular, but I'm trying to say it slow so you guys can hear it. Beiji Huta. Not Huta, but Huta. Beiji Huta. That's sage. And then we got different forms of sage, but that's a common sage. That was a common sage. And when we was in South Dakota, Nebraska, down here it's different, but we still use the same word. Mhm. Kind of like gray grass. You know, if you say gray grass, you say peji sude. That means gray grass, but suta means like has an odor a little bit, essence to it. And then for sweet grass, we say, I've heard that said two ways. I don't know which way is right. The first one would say peji blanc piage. Peji blanc piage. That means it's a stink smelling grass. A stink smelling grass. The second one, I mean, the third one is the sweet grass. It's called Beiji, Beiji, Blanc, B, D slash, nozzle A, accent marker on it, Blanc, Piage. And they also call that one Beiji, Blanc, Beiji, because that word Beiji in Ponca has dual meaning. It has reference to grass in the yard, and it also means bad. Piaget and Peji also mean, both of them mean bad. But that's in a singular form. If you was talking about they're bad, be Baji. But we're not even on that. But like I said, but every time I think of these words, I always want to take, go ahead.
The Maji and the Peji Huta, are they meant for different things, or is it just what you could have your hands on if you were trying to ward away evil? I mean, is there different intents? Does that make sense?
I was always told that whenever they burn a sage, that it was pleasing to the spirits or even to the soul. But Mikasi might be able to elaborate. You want to elaborate on that?
Sage is not only for um it's cleansing, like it like you're saying, like to keep off bad spirits. but it's also, and scientists are just now coming out and saying that they can scientifically prove too that it actually cleanses the air, like literally cleanses the air. So when you burn it in your home, you're purifying the air. When you use it, you're purifying your body. When you use it and smoke yourself like this, you're purifying your body. And so when you use it, you go through your house, and like some people use that word smudge. I don't like that word smudge, but they use that pretty modern day term. We don't say that, but that that act is cleansing your home literally from bacteria all the way to bad spirits. That's how strong that medicine is. And now the scientists say, oh, well, we were right. We've been right all along.
See, that's what I tell you guys. That's why we have to collaborate and, you know, teamwork. Like I always tell you guys, I love that saying, teamwork makes dream work, because let me tell you something. You're going to see people in our tribe and our culture and in our Native American people as a whole. You're going to see them people that you'll see them singled out and they're alone. And when I'm talking the ones that are alone, that are teaching alone, that's because they want to be made known. They want to be distinct, or say, "Look at me." No, it isn't. No, I ain't. I don't even give it. I don't care about that. I try to get everybody to participate. You guys have opened my eyes to so many things that I didn't know in the English language, or even those of you that I described the simplest way of how they use these words. Chris, you have simplified it and made it more understandable than I didn't even think it could be said that way until you said it that way a couple different times. And you know, Rob, you always got some good techniques of saying. Diane, you know, I'm always thinking of a prefix and a suffix in one simple word. You would look Googled it and it was an infix. I could just tell you it's in the middle. You know, and now I sit here just like I've been doing it my whole time, but I just really learned that from you. You know, like I told you that day. You know, we got prefixes and infixes and suffixes, and you know, Connie, you do so much for us on our typing and writing our language out. You got a lot of time and effort, and don't think it's not. It hasn't gone unnoticed. We notice and we appreciate you. You know, and Grandpa Raymond, you know, you got a lot of history, a lot of stories, things that I don't even know. You know, this is what makes it work. You know, my big brother, my Shidejo, Mikasi, that's his nickname. His real name's Thonde Kuge. But you know, he got so much information by living it. I've only lived it off and on 7 years. This will be my 7th year. Or no, my 8th year. Last year was my 7th. This is my 8th year, my whole life. But the only 2 times that I ever did my hardest and purest is the first year I ever danced. You know, Mikas, he took me. You know, he encouraged me, guided me. We had a real emotional time during that time. You know, talking. A lot of times we have our talks are emotional because we got so much to say to one another. We got so much to talk about on how we could change things, how we can make it better, how can we help or uplift people, how can we uh, encourage people to want to be Ponca, encourage people to be proud to be Native American, because it's real prejudiced here. I can't speak for everywhere. He knows South Dakota real good, but I don't know everywhere. But I know it's prejudice here in Oklahoma, and I try not to be prejudiced, because when we're prejudiced, we're just like the other people that judge us. That say, "Oh, he's just a drunk Indian, or he's just a thief, or he's just a wagon burner, or prairie nigger." You know, they got all kind of names they call us down here. Say we're illiterate, we ain't never gonna be nothing. Not heard it all. You know, but the thing is we got to show people who we are. And I'm talking about our own people. Don't be afraid to be Ponca. Don't be afraid to try to talk Ponca. The biggest thing about Poncas down here that didn't want to try, that can understand any fluent speaker, they're afraid to speak because of how hard they came down on us. How hard. I'm the youngest one that they probably talk bad to. You gotta say it right. You don't say it right, you're gonna make me look bad. You're gonna make our people look bad. We go around them Omahas, Osage, Calls, or Quapaw. They're going to look down on us because you're not saying it right. And then it scares people off. I know people that are 40 years older than me that were scared to talk Ponca. But They could hear entire fluent conversation go and translate you exactly what they said. They're just afraid to speak it because it ain't because of that generation. Ain't because of the white man. That generation is because of our the mothers and fathers and grandparents at that time. On we just didn't know how to encourage one another. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Sometimes we have to learn these things. Sometimes we have to pray about these things. You know, Mickey C was talking about. I didn't want to interrupt him. You know, when your elder brother or elder or somebody speaking ahead of you, it is not polite to interrupt him. So I didn't say nothing, but I'm going to come back to what he was saying to you. He told you it's like a spiritual. He felt you feel more spiritual, closer to God. In our language, that is called Nanji Jean Mali. And if he was saying Wakanda ka Nanji Jean Mambli, he's right there. He's saying, I'm walking. It's like you're in a spiritual realm because you're that word Nanji Jean means to fast, to go without water, to go without food. It's total spirituality to rely on Wakanda. And so when he says that, Wakanda ka Nanji Jean Mambli, he's telling me something. He's talking to me. Now, if I'm talking about him, or I'm talking about, well, let's just say I'm talking about you guys because I'd have to say I'm talking about him. I would literally say, Najee Jean, Mani, you all are walking with God in a spiritual way it's not average. It's what I'm trying to say. You can't make it average. It's something higher. It's something that's more intimate. Does that make sense? It's more intimate. It's just not like, oh yeah, I'm walking with God. I'm fasting with God. It ain't nothing. If it ain't nothing, you ain't doing something right. It is high, that's right. A higher level of being. Sometimes I can't translate right. That's why I have to have help. It's a higher level of being. Najijan, Mali. And that's where we have to be. You know, I try all year, be ready for this, and I about died. And I prayed and I thought about it. I'm thinking, when after I came to they took me off most of that morphine because they had me on morphine and morphine and Norcos. Those are the new word for Loratab. They're opioids anyway. I thought about all kind of crazy things, and one things I thought about is they're gonna talk about me because of the Sundance, and sure enough, they did. And then me and Mickey talked to Eagle. Mickey said, Eagle. He said it's because of that Sundance. God, He was with you. We got work to do. And it made me feel good, hearing him talk. All my big brothers are gone now except Mickey and my other older cousins, but we don't got cousinship. It's easy to say cousin, but we call each other by name, either Songa, we Songa, or Jide, we Jide. And all that means is when I'm talking directly to Mickey, I gotta call him Jide. Or if I'm gonna get his attention, Jide ho. Or if I'm talking to you guys, Mickey a call, we Jide a call. Mickey's my big brother, and so that's how we have to say it. You always have to be formal when you're talking about somebody. You never say their name. Like Mickey's not his real name. He has a real name. His real name's Tande Kuge. It is not polite for me to talk about his Ponca name while he's in my presence. It's not polite for me to talk about his name while he's dead, but to somebody that don't know would be an exception because his term will always be Jideho or Wijide. It is not polite. Only in the American colonized way or assimilated mind do we call them by our names. Eagle, hey Mickey, or hey Brian, or hey, we got to start focusing on that. And I don't want to put too much on you guys by saying that. That's why I always call Diane sister. I call Robert brother, Chris brother. Connie's my real blood sister, but we're all Ponca, so you guys are all my sisters. And Grandpa, I don't call him Grandpa Raymond. I call him Tigon or Grandpa. Or Connie or Barbara's sister, but sooner as we progress in our deal, we have to get our kinship down to where it is polite because when we call a name, they said one never calls upon one's name. That's like the utter disrespect in the Ponca culture. There's no other way to say it that we think so lowly of each other that we'll call each other by name and not a term of endearment. And if you guys have questions on what I just said, it'd be all right to ask it.
The other thing that I would like to change, like brother's talking about, just the way that we greet each other, talk to each other, acknowledge each other. Um, I don't like saying Usni Ponca, Northern Ponca, Southern Ponca. We're all Ponca. The only thing that separated us or changed us, we're all from up north. The United States government separated us, but we're not Northern Ponca and Southern Ponca. We're just Ponca, and that's something else that we need to work on. I've met with the council up in Niobrara, and I would like to see a dual enrollment where any of us could be on both. We could be on both roles because we're all one people. That's something that I'm going to try to achieve in my lifetime that I'm working towards. But I don't say Northern Ponca and Southern Ponca. I just say Ponca. That's it. So I just wanted to put that in your minds and in your ear too. You know, my mom taught me too. You know, when we're out there fighting for our land and all these white people, they see resources. Everything's a resource. The trees, the water, the oil, the coal, the uranium, whatever it is, it's a resource. But another way too is just changing that wording from resource to source. Those are all sources of life. They all have spirit too. Every living thing has a spirit. Everything, even the rocks have a spirit. So those aren't resources, you know, that Western mentality sees a resource. How am I gonna make money on that? But to us, each one of those is a separate source of life in some way. So we don't say resources either. We just say source. Just want to say that.
Gosh, you guys know that I reiterate that all the time that we're Ponca. I tell you guys, there's no such thing as Osni Ponca, Moste Ponca. We're Ponca, Ponca Ongale, Ponca Onleho. And you know, that's what I teach them in here. I tell them that that is something that's going to keep us separated and it's going to divide us. It's going to make a prejudice. And the government did do that to us. And we have to get past that because it's going to always have a barrier of Poncas. And if we can't stand as Ponca, how do you expect to make it as a people, as one nation? We won't. The divide has been great already. The divide is over 100 years already. How much longer are we going to be that way? And we have to remember that. And back to the Sundance. And that Sundance Arbor is called Saldegle. 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 That's that Sundance Arbor. Saw de. The acute marker goes there. GD/E. Saldegle. And you guys pray for us, our group here and our team and our language and cultural committee and our director. The council has approved them. Said that they did that the director and the committee has sole power on this. I just got to see all these other online dictionaries of the Osage and the Call. Those are our counterparts. The Omaha have had one up for some time, but they got it Ponca in Omaha. But it's good that they thought about us. But we don't talk that way in some of the things they say. They don't talk that way. All of it anyway. And so we're gonna make our own, and then where Grandpa didn't get the chance to do on these verbs, we're gonna conjugate them. We're gonna conjugate them. You remember how many I showed you guys and how many times we could conjugate them? Some of them one word could be conjugated. How many times, Chris?
Yeah, you were showing us 6, but you were saying that they could go into like the 40s or higher.
It could go up to like 66, and I know that seems overwhelming now, but once I show you the formulas of these verb patterns, it's what we're doing. Like right now, we're only on the D/, And like I said, after you get more comfortable, you're gonna think, damn, this ain't nothing. I could conjugate anything, and that's what I'm trying to get you today. And we're gonna keep going slow at a slow pace. And then some of you, as you gradually get faster than each other or one another, then you inbox me, and then we'll start working on it. And then like how she said, she was saying, "Oh, the thong, we drinking," and that don't mean nothing. Or you could say, ni gatushi ke blaton." I'm drinking pop. I'm drinking soda pop. Or I'm drinking a Coke. Or you could say, "Teska maseni duba blaton kombla." I want to drink some milk. And that specifically comes from a cow. A lot of times we just say mazani for milk, but that a lot of times when you say mazani without saying anything, it automatically refers to breast milk of a woman. And so that's why, but here, slang wise, they'll still say mazani, but it's not proper because you're literally saying, I want to drink breast milk. And that's talking about a woman. And so we always try to sow Theska or like me and Emily own goats, and we never milked that goat, but she's milkable right now, and we just never did it. And I told her, I said, get that milk and put it in the refrigerator. I said, I'm gonna drink it, and we never did. And but the thing is, and then if you say that, you would say, hey, Sakiba. Hey means horn. Sakiba means it's close to the head, like this. See it? That's where you get that because it's like this. It's like that's the only way I could describe it, but it means like this. The horns are like this, close to the skull. Hey, Sakiba. That's how we say goat. And we got words for goats only because we have what those mountain goats are called. The mountain goats are called Hey Sakiba. And some people call them Hey Sakiba skull. Some people call them big ram ones with the big horns. They call them Hey Sakiba Tonga, the big goat. Or they might even call them Hey Tonga with the big horns because they got a big round rack, the ones that be ramming each other. We got a lot of names for different goats, but now these foreign goats, we still call them Hey Sakiba. But we got those names for that. And you just have to think about all that stuff when you're talking about drinking. You got to use it what pertains to it. You say Moncon Sabe Blaton Mike. I had been drinking coffee. That's past participle. Like how we talked about Barbara the other day. You said past tense. I did because you can translate it past tense, but you can say I drank. Like you say, Mon con sabe blaton. I drank coffee, but you can't say I had been or I have been drinking unless you say meat at the end of it. You guys understand? That is really past participle in the English language. So I have to reiterate that because some people will translate that stuff anyway. I translate it directly how it's supposed to be said and what it really means. And that's the biggest part of our fluent speakers amongst the Ponca. It's not that they don't know the Ponca language fluently and accurately. It's just that they don't translate them to where you understand it. And that's why it's always going to be hard because if you don't got your nouns, which is a person, place, or thing, like a table, like right now, this table right here, it's walate, sabelan. I'm using the black table. That's what I just said. And in the Ponca language, when you're talking about anything round or square, you can still use don. And so you have to learn how to use these verbs. And right now, I'm just trying to get you to conjugate them because I don't want to make it harder on your learning ability. And like I say, like we're playing cards, wali babake, tigachai. They're playing cards, wali baba ke tigachai. And then you could also say wali babate tigachai. Or you could say tigachai. We're playing cards. And you got to be specific on these things. But the thing is, or we're drinking and playing cards. But like I said, but later as we get further along, and you guys are getting and you're growing and your abilities in writing and speaking the Ponca language, and then we're going to further it by making sentences like that. And like I said, and I apologize sometimes that, you know, I just use the whiteboard because I don't have to read that out of a book to teach you this stuff. I know it. And I'm not saying I'm good or anything. I just know the language, and I get hated on it and ridiculed about it because I can teach it where it's teachable. Is that okay with you guys? Or would you rather me tell you Tite ga Tike gazizichte Gaka Bike? And now I just told you right there, the houses are built in a straight line. The houses had been built in a straight line. But how are you gonna, if you don't know the Ponca language, all that is gonna be is memorization. And then if they say, well, what does gazizichte mean? What does Galcha mean? What does BK mean? What does Te mean? What does T mean? If you don't know what they mean, then how the hell are you going to teach her to explain it? And how are you going to say it? Now, listen. Now, if we would say TK, the guguje, TK, the guguje. Notice earlier I said TT, talking about houses. Now I said TK, the guguje. That right there, that literally means the house is crooked. Maybe the foundation's jacked up. Maybe they built off it, or they didn't even know how to build a house. Either way, it's the Leaning Tower of Pisa. It ain't correct. It's crooked. It's off, and that's what we have to do. Or you could say uheke, udutan, or uheke dutan. The road is straight. Or you could say ujongake, snata. The road is curved. And that word snata, you could use that with road, wood, board, a body's personal body parts, derogatory. You can use it for all kind of stuff, but you got to know how to use it. You got to know the fundamentals of our sentence structure, and that's what I'm trying to teach you. But right now, I gave you a taste of so many sentences and small words and sentences to do, and Grandpa, I had to show Grandpa in that dictionary. Grandpa, what page is that on in the dictionary where it says that a verb can't stand alone? Dig on.
It's not in the dictionary. It's in the first 40 pages on page 9, wasn't it?
Okay, go to page 9. And what he means by that, it's not in the first. It's not in the dictionary part. It's in the sentence structure and verbs and articles and verb prefixes on page 9. Go to your dictionaries real quick.
Right near the bottom. Right near the bottom of the page, or in the middle of the page, a little bit lower. Almost, but not quite.
Go ahead, Grandpa, read it.
Yeah.
Where's Spakuga?
That means you read it. Yeah, I gotta find it. I'm on page. I'm way up there. 13.
Yeah, kid, sweetness.
11.
If you guys got your dictionaries handy, read it. And Grandpa's going to read it aloud, but I want you to read it. And don't misinterpret what he's saying. He might not have made it clearly, but I'm going to clear it up.
Yeah, hold on. Let me...
I'll be down there later to the deal, but I got to get this stump out, bro. Oh, we will.
I thought it was on page 9.
Huh?
It's page 8 at the bottom where it says the Ponca verb.
Page 8, yeah.
Yeah, hold on, give me 1 second.
Page 8, yeah. Right there where it says Ponca verbs on page 8. The Ponca verb cannot stand alone without a great deal of supporting grammatical material that very clearly spells out what is happening in any given scene. To carry meaning, the verb must be combined with a series of prefixes and suffixes according to regular grammatical rules. Now it says also, on the other hand, a bare verb stem without these many prefixes and suffixes is in fact meaningless to most fluent Ponca speakers. Therefore, to understand even a simple utterance in the Ponca language, one must first gain a sense of the many conjugations associated with verb stems. In this way, the verbs of the Ponca language are particularly expressive, often containing a long string of prefixes and suffixes that carry a great deal of information about the scene being described, as much as an entire phrase or sentence in many other languages, such as English. Most of the verbs in this dictionary are listed in fairly basic form, with some of the required prefixes and suffixes, though without the context-specific information about the personnel who are associated with the action or state that a verb describes. These special prefixes and suffixes are commonly known as person markers, since they often identify the specific people who stand in the grammatical roles of subject or object, that is, acted or acted upon. It is customary in this sense to identify the speaker as the first person, since that is where the words begin, with the person who is speaking. Continuing in this way, the person listening is often called the second person, since this is the next person in the act of speaking. Anyone else beyond the immediate context is called the third person, where more than one person is involved. The person marker moves from singular to plural. Thus, when one person is speaking, as in the case of English, I, the subject is first person singular. When speaking for many people, in the case of English, we, the subject becomes first person plural. Likewise, for other person markers, thus in English, second person singular is you, while the second person plural is you all. The third person singular is he, she, or it, while third person plural is they. The reader will need to become familiar with these concepts to read the charts in this section. Though English translations such as I or we are provided throughout, note also that some entries go beyond the person markers and provide examples in sentences or short phrases with the simple tilde standing in the place of the main entry. See, then it goes on to show the first one he's going to conjugate is Ibahan. Ibahan, to know. Ilapahan, I know. Ishbahan, you know. Ibahan, they know. Ibahan, he, she, or it knows. With this basic information in hand, including several conjugations, a fluent speaker could infer the entire paradigm, since the rules of the grammar are fairly regular. Note that the past and present paradigms are identical. One must infer from context whether the speaker is referring to the past or present in any given moment, though it is usually fairly obvious during the act of speaking. Communication. Either the speaker is referring to events in the moment or to some distant scene in the past. Then it goes on with those examples for Ibaha and Hazim. Then it goes into verb classes on page, what is that? Page 10. And those need to be read too, because you have to understand those. Otherwise, when you go on, you'll have a whole lot of questions that are explained in the first part.
That's right.
So, Sean,
We both tiga.
who?
And even in my grandpa, in my classes down here that I taught before COVID hit, and then they just never let me open them back up. One of them classes, what was the first thing I told you, Grandpa? I told the entire class every time, read them first 40 pages. Stop trying to look at the dictionary.
Yeah.
You don't know how to make words. You don't know how to make sentences. You don't know how to conjugate. It gives you an idea of verb conjugation and classifications in the first 40 pages. and it tells you about the articles, and it tells you about the verb prefixes and possessive, intensive, and just regular pronouns. You will not be able to do that. When I say an intensive pronoun, it says we thought be. Me, I see you, or I'm looking at you. We thought be. That is an intensive pronoun. And now and then when you say a possessive pronoun, ijaji we thought ke Montujinga. My name is Little Grizzly Bear, or Little Bear in modern day time, but it literally means little grizzly bear. It could be a small one, it could be a baby one, but a lot of times if I was going to talk about a baby one or a cub, I would say Monchu, Jinga, Jinga, Monchu, Jinga, Jinga. Man, I ain't gonna lie, that temperature is rising. I sit outside, like I said, I got air conditioning in my car. Well, I don't like it. And I can sit in air conditioning in the house right now, but I gotta stay relevant because I work outside. But I'm telling you, it's getting like hard to breathe, muggy out here. It's like, woo. When you say "pulling," or some people just say "pulling," that means it's humid, and it's humid. Pulling, child, it's really humid right now. I'm sitting there sweating. I ain't even doing nothing. I'm all greasy looking, and I'm sunburned. So anyway, but and we're talking about, like I said, if you just read that and you don't read on, see, Grandpa read on, and it tells you that on these different deals you got to on them. So when you're doing that, can you hear me still?
Yep.
Okay, and so you got to learn them verb prefixes and infixes and suffixes because it's part of the conjugation. And anytime that we're going there, just like Mikashi said, Mikashi, he's like me. We're used to talking to people or big crowds. It don't make me fearful or nervous. That's just what I do, and that's what he does. And he's well spoken. Him and I, we come a long way as men, changed our lives around. And I'm proud of him. And we're the two Sundance leaders, or some might call us Sundance Chiefs, but that's not the title. That's not the goal. It's just to guide our loved ones to see a spiritual enlightenment, to get closer to God, to make sure everybody's okay. Because some people like to go out there and pierce and drag the most buffalo skulls, to drag, like last year I drug nine. My commitment is I'm going to drag my first 4 years of our dance. I'm going to drag buffalo skulls for the people. And last year, Grandpa, was you there when I drug them buffalo skulls, or was Gail there?
I wasn't there, but Gail was, I believe.
Did she buy you?
No, she went next door, I believe.
Yeah. Let me call her. I want to ask her. I can't remember. There was a lot of people there, but I think she was there.
Her phone's ringing, but she don't have it with her. It's ringing on my chair, on my other chair.
But anyway, I'm pretty sure Gail was there when I pulled them 9 buffalo skulls, and when Mickey, she cut my back open on each side. The first he did my right side. He cut one slit here, went in all the way. Cut the other slit here, went in and come out with the scalpel. Oh, my bad. He came out with a scalpel all the way across. And then he got my peg and he put it in his mouth, his spit. And then he put it in my back. And then he did the other side, same way, from the left to right. Cut me and went all the way through. And then when he tied them thongs, them ropes on me, when I took my first step, I stopped dead in my tracks. I've done this before, but it's been a decade and change. And when I took my first step, it's like I was thinking in my mind, I didn't say nothing to nobody. I'm like, oh my God, what the hell did you get into, Eagle Rod? Because it shot pain all through me like, God, it stood me straight up. I'm like, in my mind, I'm thinking, You know, I didn't look like I was tripping, but I was tripping. I was like, then I said, stop it. I'm talking in my, I'm self-talking myself. Stop it. You're doing this for something other than you. I said, this is temporary. I said, what about all them people, them kids out there that got taken by Indian Child Welfare and DHS? I said, what about all them old people that got amputated limbs because of diabetes? I said, what about all them people out there drinking, out there going every day, neglecting everything that should be taken care of? Or what about all them people out there that are strung out or using needles? I said, you got to dance for them. Dance for the people. Remember the people. I had to tell myself that. And then I started dancing. And I danced the whole way. Some of them young guys will walk it. Me, I danced it. I'm not better than them. They're stronger than me by far because they're young. But I danced it like I was taught. And every time I'm dancing, it's pulling me back because I'm dancing. You know, you're 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. You know, and you're raising your knees. And I just have to show you. And I danced all the way around, and Mickey C came and he said, "Time to let go, brother." A lot of times I danced 4 times around the arena. This time I only danced that one. I was glad he stopped me because I was thinking, "Woo," because my legs are already tired because I'm older. And so anyway, they put all them little boys on them skulls, and my nephew was, I think he was, let's see, he was 22. No, no, let's see, he was still no, he was 22. That's right, he was 22. He's 23 now. He's 22. He was the biggest person got on them skulls, and I took off. It sounded like a gunshot when my skin broke. And then I ran around the arena with my staff, with my eagle head on it, my bald eagle head and my buffalo hide. My uncles, my Omaha uncles made that for me to dance with. They made that staff for me. My leadership in our group, Mickey has his own staff, but my uncles made mine. My Omaha uncles made mine. That's why I tell you, my Omaha people love me. Don't ever think I'm talking bad on when I say we don't speak the same. I'm never speaking bad about them. I'm just telling you we don't talk the same exactly. That's all I'm saying. They're some of my biggest supporters beside my Ponca people. And there's other tribes that are Lakota that support me that come. Dakota that came to support us. And I really hope you guys could come. I know you guys probably can, but on our tree day is on the 22nd. That's a Wednesday. That means that's the day that we're going to take our old tree down that gave its life for the people, and we're going to put a new one up. This week we're going to get our tree picked out, and we're going to tie it off. And so, we got a lot of emotion, we got a lot of anxiety, we got a lot of excitement that's happening right now. We got young men working around the clock. I've been working around the clock. I'm exhausted. That's all free labor because I'm part of this society, one of the leaders in it. So, everything I do is free. But now I'm getting to catch up to make a
Can I
little more
ask
money.
a question?
Go ahead.
I just wonder, since I'm going, what is the woman's role in the Sundance exactly? What should
You got
someone
to
like
be
me
more
expect?
specific. You got to be more specific.
What should I expect if I dance as a dancer
Okay,
or
listen.
as a woman?
A role as a woman dancer, and women have all kind of roles there. Whether they're taking care of the camp at this kind of event or ceremony, the women don't take care of no fire but the kitchen fire. The men will take care of the fire that stays lit.
Mhm.
And so the woman dancer, her preparation is to make sure she's not on her period or her moon, or what we call wa'u wachega. Wa'u wachega. That's woman sickness. That's when you're on your monthly. We were told as children that when a woman's like that, she is powerful. Her prayers could do good, and her prayers could also take life because of her blood. She's that powerful because she could give life and take life. And some people might disagree with that, but we were told that by some of our elders, and some of them would say, "No, we don't believe in that." But it all goes back on one's belief. But in anything you do, even in the church, a woman is highly regarded when she's on her period in a lot of ways of being sacred, or it's time to stay home. You can't be around everybody. But with the Native American, with the Ponca, they had special places for them. They had special sweat lodges for them. They had special houses for them outside of the camp. They're so powerful. And then your job is to be mindful of what you're there for, and also so that you could keep yourself together by helping while you're in there dancing, encouraging, because you're going to see people get tired. You're going to see all kind of different stuff, and it gets difficult. A lot of this stuff becomes difficult whenever we're doing that. When we're out there, you start getting fatigued. You start getting weak. You start thinking about, like, man, am I going to make it? Is it, damn, it's so hot out here. You're going to think crazy. Fear is going to try to overtake you. Don't be afraid. When you feel afraid, talk to one of us. Talk to the other women. You got this. Don't be afraid. You sit there and think about this, and you say, well, I'm going to wait till next year. You might not be alive next year. I might not be alive next year. Maybe the world will blow up. I don't know. Maybe an asteroid will hit us. But what I'm saying is we have to worry about today. Yeah, we can do our best to plan for the future, but today is what matters. Yesterday ain't never coming back. Do your best today. You guys got this, I'm telling you.
Yep.
Connie, you want to dance? We got other veteran dancers that's going to be there. There's going to be other dancers that's going to be their second years. There's going to be other dancers that's going to, I think one of our friends, Shatea, is going to dance, and it'll be her first time. And they're real scared. They're like real scared. But what I can tell you is it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to get hot. You're going to be sweaty. And then you ain't going to have no sweat. You ain't going to have nothing left to sweat out because it's going to be gone. The first 2 days, you'll probably use the bathroom, number 1 and 2. But by the time you get to that third day, you ain't going to be able to have no 1 or 2. And don't get me wrong, sometimes you will. Some people hold water, retain water more than others. And some people will get, that first day and a half, they might not have nothing left to use, depending on how much body fat, how lean they are, or the condition of the body. We're all different, and all you got to do is tell how you're feeling. And then between rounds, rest or go to sleep, or sit there and pray, or sit there and meditate, because we're all gonna be fasting. And you're a diabetic, so when you feel like your sugar's low, they got tea. They're gonna have tea for you, or even a hard candy to get you through that. This is modern days. In the old days, we didn't have no diabetes or nothing like that way. So I'm just telling you.
Yeah,
And then when
right.
you're done,
Good. Yeah.
Connie, this is what our family does. Our McDonald family,
Yes.
our Rod family. That's what we do. We're sun dancers. And I'm not saying you can't believe in Christ. I'm not saying you can't believe in Buddha. I'm not saying you can't do nothing. But what I am saying is learn to have that relationship with God. Learn to trust in Him. Don't rely on your body. Don't rely on your husband. Don't rely on your friends. They'll all fail you. Your body will fail one day. But God, He'll never fail us. He's going to get us through this. And when it comes so great and we can't take it no more, you already know what's going to happen. He's going to call us home. To wherever you believe you're going to go, that's what's going to happen. Believe what you're going to believe. I'm not going to try to tell you what to believe, because you guys already know I love Jesus. Can't nobody tell me different. Not nobody. Not my G-Day, not nobody. That is my one-on-one relationship with God. And when I'm going through them hard times, I call upon Him. And sometimes people don't believe that. And there's some people that don't believe in God at all, but they're looking for something. Some people are looking for something. They're so lost, and they're not even on drugs or drinking. They're just so lost spiritually and mentally that they're looking. And sometimes when you come, that fasting will open your mind, and it definitely opens your spirituality, because it's going to show you that, whoa,
Yeah, I
there is
think
a
I
God.
need that.
There is a God.
Right.
And when you guys are out there dancing, when you come out there, Connie, ask God to open your mind to this Ponca language. Ask God to help you with your back's hurting. Ask God to help you with whatever you feel like that's inadequate in your life, or you're unhappy, or you don't know what to do in life. Ask for direction. You got this, all of you. There's people out there that come out there with toes missing. There's people that come out there one leg, try to stand on their prosthetic. They got people out there in wheelchairs. Some of you guys, I know you got ailments, but you're stronger. Your body is stronger than what you think. Your body is stronger than what you think. When you let yourself say, oh, I got a little owie, I got a little woo-woo. I'm doing everything I can to keep myself focused on what I'm just saying. I had 17 broke ribs and a broke femur. I'm walking around, I'm picking up wood, I'm using a chainsaw. I'm doing all kind of things. But what I'm telling you is you guys got this. It don't matter how black, how white, how yellow, how red you are, you got this. And if you guys, any
How
of you
about
got the inkling,
women?
go ahead.
I was going to say piercing. What about women piercing? I mean, is there a
Pierce on your
particular
arm.
area? Yeah, is it
Yeah, your
arm?
arm,
Okay.
your
I
your
didn't know.
shoulders to your elbow.
Women, I didn't know. Okay. I didn't know if they did back or what.
No, they just
Awesome.
pierce here
Thank you.
like this. Look, and then I'll have
Oh,
rows
okay.
depending on how many
Okay.
years. But to do
Right,
have
right,
rows,
right.
you
Okay.
be dancing decades. So don't worry about having rows. That's you're dancing
I ain't worried
decades.
about Rose.
Yeah,
I ain't having no Rose.
yeah. I got piercings on
Maybe
my
a
front, and my
tattoo
back,
of a
but
rose.
I got a lot of room left. Mickey, see, we can't find nowhere to pierce him. We got to go to crazy spots to pierce Mickey. He's got so many piercings. Him and Uncle Craig.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Uncle Craig's a straight Ponca warrior.
Yeah, I gotta meet him yet. I think he was pallbearer at my mom's funeral in Carter.
I love it. Give me one of the containers for that. You got to see an empty one in there.
Why do I not? Oh.
Do you guys notice anything different about me? Yes, no.
You don't have a cigarette in your hand?
The
You
sun,
did a while ago.
he did a while ago.
I noticed.
Bust
Oh,
yet.
shoot. Okay. Disappointment.
Emily asked mine.
You
Emily said,
browner?
"No, I'm dark. I ain't even dark yet. I'm just getting dark."
Got
Emily said,
suntan.
she said, "Do you notice anything about your uncle?" And she looked at me. She said, "Yeah, he dyed his hair."
No gray, dude. Look at you. Now I got to dye my hair. Shoot. We can't
You
all
know, it's
be.
so crazy.
We got to match. We got to be.
It's so crazy. It's so
Whoa.
crazy down here. All these women say, "Eagle, I don't know why you dye your hair." They say you look. They say you look real good with gray. I said, "I don't feel like I do."
You do. I saw. Yeah, you got them green temple thing going on like the men do,
That's
right?
right. Must
I
like.
don't know
Looks
how
good.
anybody else feels, but I earned my gray and I want people to see it.
Wisdom.
I read
Wisdom
that in the
gray,
Bible.
right?
I read that in the Bible. The Bible said it was an honor to have gray hair, and yet I dye it. You know, my sister's 43 years old, Carla. She's 43, and my other sister's 40.
Mm-hmm.
They ain't even got no damn gray hair. I'm 44. I'm like,
And
well, I gotta
Carl
be all
looks
gray.
good.
You're muted.
Gail,
You're taking
okay,
in
hang
their.
on.
Hey, girl.
Hey,
Hey, sorry,
guys,
What's
hold on.
Gail?
sorry guys, I was
Mute.
doing
You
as a
guys
prayer.
mute real quick. I want to ask Gail something. Gail, when I pulled skulls, was you there last year?
Yeah, I was the one who told Baby Fred to go help you.
Okay, can you talk to them and tell them from the beginning what you saw? Because I didn't. I only know what I feel.
Well, they hooked you up to the skulls, and he went around. I believe 4 times. I think it was 4 times. But
Did you see
yeah,
him cut me open?
they pulled his flesh. Whenever the buffalo skulls horns went down into the ground, and he was having a hard time pulling them because he had been around, and he's the fasting and stuff was a hard part of your energy and prayer, but I do know that was amazing. But yeah, he was usually they have children sit on those skulls to help, that the ones pulling could pull the children. But he didn't have any children there, so I sent his one of his eldest nephews out to help him because I wanted it to be one of his family members, a child of that one of his sisters. So that's what I did. I was like, go out there and help your uncle, and he came out, but it was I could tell that suffering and pulling those skulls was for the prayer and for the people. I could feel it in my heart wholeheartedly that was a good thing that I seen, and I knew that God was there, because if He wasn't, I wouldn't have been there. So I can't agree with those ones that say this was put away for God. Old folks put it away for a reason, but if God's there, then I'll be there, and I could feel the Spirit of God there at that place. So I know the Spirit of God. I've been to church all my life, and I know when you can feel the anointing of the Holy Spirit, you can feel God's presence. It was there that day, and that's the reason why I went, because I wanted to see for myself. I don't like to listen to I listen to other people's opinions, but when it comes down to it, I find out and go and see for myself. And I encourage others to be that way. It's good to listen to both sides of the story, but at the end of the day, make your own choice and go and see for yourself. And if you feel that was something for you, then it's something for you. And if you can feel God's presence there, then it's a good place to be. And that's the way I see it, at least. But yeah, that's all that I seen, and I could feel that God was there. He was with us. He was there with those guys in that arena, and He was there for our people. And I thought that was pretty cool, because I never in my life seen nothing like that my whole life. And because of being the first one, I've had other people invite me to Sundances, but I was like, I never went. And then they said they were having one here, so I was like, well, if I'm going to go to a Sundance, it might as well be one for our own people. So the first one in 100, however many years, I witnessed it, and it was the first one I ever went to. So there was a lot of firsts that day for me. I was amazed. It was the first time I seen something like that, and I could feel the presence of God there, and I thought it was pretty cool. But that's what I felt.
Cool story. Thank you.
I was really moved by the whole entire ceremony, and I thought it's very important to respect the way certain etiquette that you have at those ceremonies, and so I followed what I was told to do and how to do it, and so it was really cool. I liked it, and I could feel that the prayers were heard that day. It's my experience being there. And I was reading that paper they had about back in the day. They had a paper about a whole bunch, and my great grandpa was on that list of Sundancers. He was like a priest or something like that. I don't know, but his name was Albert Blackcove, and my grandpa's name was Albert. They called him Blind Junior, but his daddy was on that list of priests in that paper that I read that was about the Sundance. And I was like, that's pretty cool. I was like, and I had to call my aunt, my mama's sister, to verify that's. I was like, my grandpa was a Sundance. She was like, oh, his name. It was his daddy, your grandpa's grandpa, I believe she said. So 4 generations back, I guess. That's what I found out from my mama's side of the family, because I read that that list, that paper that they dad had about Sundance, old last Sundance or something like that. I never read anything about what they did or anything like that, but I do remember reading his name on that list. I was like, what? That's cool. So I took it upon myself to find one of my eldest aunties on my mama's side to find out if that was my grandpa Blind Jr. or his great grandfather. She said it was his grandpa, because he was named, or his dad, something like that. Well, that's what I have to say. Hey, that's all. Hope you guys got something from it.
Thanks. That was really cool, Gail. Thank you. Yeah, I did. I thought it was great. Thanks.
Connie, you gonna come? Barbara, you gonna come dance with us
What are the dates?
on the 22nd to the 26th?
I'm signed up to teach classes on the 17th through the 25th. So I'm gonna borrow for leaving this year. I know you said don't think about next year, but I'm already obligated.
No,
I
I
have
know, but
something. Go ahead.
go ahead.
I have something to say too to Connie and anyone else. You know, it's just as important to be a Sundance supporter. The people who are there cooking for the people, washing the dishes never ends, keeping the fires going, making sure people are taken care of, handling emergencies, feeding pets, feeding children, feeding elders, you know, keeping things clean and mowed up and going out and doing whatever errands are asked of you, picking sage. There are so many things to be done as a to be in just in that realm as well. And you know, sometimes they're real short on support and people who are there, and you know, you have to be really strong to be in that position. And it's also a really good way to observe, to learn, to see, to you know, be humble and be in the background and just be there to support. So you know, if it's not your time to dance, there is nothing wrong with just being there as a dedicated supporter.
That's true.
So,
So true. But like I said, I'm gonna keep inviting you guys. Maybe you guys will say, "Man, F it, let's just go."
you know, I'm working on the ability to be in two places at once. That's my dream. How can I
Very
be here
good.
and there? Is
Oh.
Mikasi still with you?
No, he just left. Our uh, our daughter-in-law, she's 6 months pregnant. She just blacked out at the wheel, having pregnancy complications, and she wrecked with her little boy or little. Was it her little? They got a little boy, little girl. Jeremy, little Jeremy. A little girl, and she's 6 months pregnant. And they had she wrecked and she almost went off in that pond at county line. You know that one they say they can't touch bottom at? Yeah, on that side, the east side of the road. And so yeah, anyway, so all that my Aunt Casey was talking to him, all that, and as soon as he got done, he was telling what happened. He said he was gonna go check on him, but they just got the car out of there, but it almost hit in that water. They said that they had so many divers that can't touch bottom on that. So I don't know. That car would have hit in there, it probably went down far. Oh,
Well, prayers for that for them all.
yeah, I know that.
I also wanted to say that, you know, one thing to keep in mind when you're there is you never touch a sun dancer. You try not to look them in the eye. You just give them a lot of space and respect. You don't touch their blessed things, their blessed objects. You don't handle anything unless it's specifically asked of you and wash down or sage beforehand.
Yes, that's true. But as far as touching a sun dancer, you never touch them when they're open, their wounds. Never touch them when they're open like that way. You know, when I came when I came back one time from up north, you know, I was leaking. You know, my blood was seeping out still, and this person saw me, and I didn't even tell them I was Sundance, and they went right in front of me, and they put their hands on, they just put their hands above my deal, and they prayed and they cried. I never saw that done, but I came home to Oklahoma, and that's what they did to me when they saw that. They knew I was open, that I'm vulnerable at that time. That made me cry just now thinking about that. I ain't even thought about that in a great number of years. But Barbara's been to Crow Dogs. I don't know how many times, but somebody taught her something. But she's telling the truth. A lot of times, that's why we have to help each other. 8 times she's been there, and a lot of times I don't think about the little things because I'm always dancing or part of the leadership or a speaker of some type. And so I never had to do all what she's doing. A lot of times they do that to people that's pledging or off tribes or non-natives. Non-natives are usually the ones that even down here are non-natives. They're white people. They took so much care of us here, and yeah, it was really good. They took care of us,
Well,
but
the other thing is
Yeah,
they were taught by
got dropped
natives
off,
though.
but thank you, Barbara.
when you
Thank you, Barbara.
pledge as a supporter or when you pledge as a dancer, you do it for 4 years. So in each case, I was asked to support dancers, and I had to do that for 4 years. Then I got run over, so I was kind of beyond the point of being able to be a dancer. So I just pledge myself as a supporter when I go to these ceremonies. And you're welcome, Connie.
I'm sorry, I got lost. My connection dropped. But yeah, thanks. I'm sorry I missed what you were saying at the end there. But yeah, that's really good
I was
good
just
things to
saying that
remember.
it's the same if you pledge to Sundance, you're pledging for 4 years. For 4 years, you pledge to dance. If you honor someone by saying you will support them, you support them for 4 years. So in my personal case, I pledged to support people for 4 years at a time. And then after being run over, I gave up the dream of ever sundancing myself. But I tell you, it's a spiritual practice to support others.
I
Yep.
apologize. My laptop
I
died.
can see. I can your laptop, my phone, we're all dying.
Okay,
But yeah. Thanks
Diane, prayers
everybody
out
though.
this after two. So prayers out. I appreciate you guys. I'll see you Monday night,
Thanks to Mika C again.
and I hope you
Alrighty.
guys
Thank you everybody.
enjoyed my big brother. I hope you guys enjoyed what he said,
Yeah.
and even when he spoke, we didn't go
Yes.
into depth. We didn't go into depth what Barbara talked about. That is also part of the side that we had to do when we were real young. But most of the time, he and I is always in some type of leadership role. And I don't mean
We
nothing either, but the
Mhm.
hardest worker, the hardest and the greatest and most the necessity of what's going on is done with what Barbara's talking about. Without them, we couldn't do it. Go ahead, Diane, prayers up, please.
Yep. I see that. Thank you.
Thank you to Mikasi for sharing his knowledge with us, and to the Culture Committee for giving us this opportunity, to Eagle, who continues to bring the best to us. May our wisdom continue growing, and our thoughts and prayers with those who are currently in the process of the Sundance, to allow it to be as spiritual and blessed as possible. Amen.
Oh, I'll see y'all later. Love you guys. Monday.
Bye bye y'all. Love
Oh,
y'all. Bye bye.
bye.
Bye, Gail.